1 weekend, 2 events, 70 speakers representing more than 60 organizations from 20 countries, 50 plus workshops. RBG Centennial Conference, a nation-building event like no other. There'll be vending, arts and culture, speakers, panels, virtual workshops, and more. It's all going down August 8th and 9th, 2020. Across all social media, use hashtag RBG100. RBGCentennial.com.
Drop the mantle of the red, the black, and the green around me.
All right, family. All right, I get pumped up, Omowale, every time I hear the Honorable Marcus Garvey's voice. But peace and love, family. Welcome to another Truth to Power Talk with your sister, Dr. Maat. Thank you for joining another powerful discussion. And I have with me today another powerful guest, Brother Omowale. How are you, brother?
I'm doing good, Dr. Maat. Appreciate being on the platform today. Definitely looking forward to a really engaging conversation. So.
Absolutely, brother. And you and I have built before. You know, I remember we talked on Sinetta's platform probably about a year ago. And we were talking about, you know, Dr. Amos Wilson and Africanity and things of that nature. So I do have that video on my channel. So family, go in the archives and check out that beautiful discussion that I had with Brother Omowale. I think about a year ago, we had that discussion. And so again, brother, thank you so much for coming on the platform. I know, family, what you just saw, the trailer that you just saw, the promo video, was for the RBG Centennial Conference that's going down August the 7th through August the 8th. Do I have the dates correct, Brother Omowale?
It's August the 8th through the 9th.
Okay. August the 8th through August the 9th. So we have the RBG Centennial Conference. So brother, tell us about that conference before we get into the life and legacy of Marcus Garvey.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So as you see, the red, black, and green flag is behind me. So 100 years ago in 1920, our ancestors got together under the leadership of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, where we held the first international convention of Negro peoples of the world. During that particular convention, which was held from August the 1st through August the 31st. On the 13th of that month, they issued what's referred to as the Declaration of Rights of Negro Peoples of the World. Within that declaration, Article 39 stated that the colors of the Negro race or the African race would be the colors red, black, and green. In addition to that, there were several other articles that were declared, but right now we're at a very significant moment, and that we're coming up on that 100-year anniversary. So as sons and daughters of Marcus Garvey, we want to make sure that we commemorate that moment, that we take the time to re-examine the past 100 years to learn the lessons from that period. But also plan, plot, and strategize our actions as a people for the next 100 years. So that's what this conference is all about. As the trailer stated, we have over 70 speakers. On day one of the conference, Dr. Julius Garvey, who is the son of the Honorable Marcus Garvey, will be one of our keynote speakers. But we also have panels on day one dealing with everything from education for self-determination to work around freeing our political prisoners, right? So we have Dr. Malefe Kete Asante speaking, Dr. Amma Mazama, Brother Leader Bendaka. The panel with our political prisoners, we have Sister Janine Africa, Baba Daruba Bin Wahad, and Baba Sekou Odenga. So if you're not familiar with any of those people who have played a significant role in our history, I would definitely encourage you to come out, support the conference, and hear what they have to say.
Absolutely. And I mean, and brother, do me a favor right now. Pull up that document, the document that you just talked about. You called it the Declaration of Negro Independence. Is that correct?
The Declaration of Rights of Negro People of the World?
Yes. Do you have that online that you can pull up and maybe share your screen with us?
I don't have it online, but it's if you have the philosophies and opinions of Marcus Garvey.
I'm wondering if if it's online, like if we can access it.
It may be if you research it. If you just if you put in the Declaration of Rights of Negro People of the World, you should be able to find it right online. But I've never downloaded it or anything. I always reference the
Book.
book when I'm looking for. I think it's page 35 or 135.
Yes, I'm looking at it right here. They
You
have
found it already?
Yep. That's what I was asking you if you could pull that up. It's a Wikipedia article.
Okay.
Yeah, that shows it. And so I just want to show the people.
You want me to pull it up on my screen?
Yeah, if you could.
Let me search it for you really quick.
Uh-huh. I'm looking at it. It's a beautiful Wikipedia article on it. And so, yeah, the Declaration of Rights of Negro Peoples of the World, and they show the actual newspaper from the Negro world.
Share my screen.
Okay.
All right. Let me know if you can you see everything here?
Yes, I do see it.
Yep. So this is it. Again, it was on August the 13th of 1920. And again, Article 39 of the Declaration, which you see they're calling out here, states that the colors red, black, and green, they will be the colors of our race, right? So this is a national symbol of race pride for the African race all around the globe. And this was significant because during this time, there was a song, a very popular song that was out called "Every Race Has a Flag Except the Coon." Yeah. So in response, to that, Marcus Garvey and the UNIA, who were in the process of forming a government, right, forming us into a nation, a government, so to speak, in exile, preparing for us to reclaim the land and to redeem Mama Africa. But when you see that flag behind me, that's not a protest flag. That flag is the flag of a nation of people, and by nation, I'm referring to all African, and by African, I'm referring to all Black people around the globe.
That's right. That's right. And so let's get into the life and legacy of the Honorable Marcus Garvey. And I want you to kind of walk us back in time. Let's go back to when he was born in Jamaica and what type of environment that he was born into in Jamaica and why he decided to leave Jamaica. So let's walk back in time. Bring us to that era. So let's talk a little bit about his life. So we know that he was born in Jamaica. I believe it was St. Anne's Colony, right?
St. Anne's Bay, Jamaica. That's correct.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's walk back in time. So let's talk about that particular environment that he was brought up in.
I mean, Jamaica has a very deep and rich history of resistance, right? Jamaica being one of the colonies of the British Empire, just like the American colony that was here. The only difference between us as Black people in the United States and the Black people in the colony of Jamaica is that the Europeans who were here rebelled against the crown, and they had a revolution, so to speak, to break away from what they referred to as the tyranny of the British Empire. And it's unfortunate that many of us as African people, we often identify ourselves, our identities are tied to the people who colonized us, right? So you have people to say, oh, well, I'm an American, or I'm this identity, or I'm that identity that ties to a particular colony. But our family in Jamaica, just like our family here in the United States, have a very, very rich and long history of resistance. Garvey actually descends from the Maroons of Jamaica. And if you know anything about the Maroons, these were a people that liberated themselves and escaped from slavery and formed what's referred to as Maroon settlements. These were communities, right? I won't go as far as to call them nations because they never matured or fully developed to the point of nations, but they were communities where our people could seek refuge from the slave system, right? So all throughout the slave world, Maroonage was very significant. So down in the in Jamaica or in the islands, they referred to those people as the Maroons. And the Spanish places like or just to back up really quick, Maroon, as you know, it is really a bastardization, right, of the Spanish word cimarron, and the word cimarron, spelled Cimarron, means basically a runaway. Right. So when the English or the people from the UK or whatever you want to call it, the British Empire, they basically bastardized the word. So instead of saying cimarron, they used the word maroon. But it's the same thing in America when people talk about the Seminoles, right? The Seminole is just another bastardization of maroon. But I say all that to say that Garvey descends from the Maroons, born and raised, mother and father down there. What was I going to say? So I'm not a Garvey historian, right? So I wouldn't be able to give you much detail like about his mother and his father, but I can tell you about his journey, right? And from what I've read in Tony Martin's Race First. So before Garvey even started the UNIA, which was founded in 1914, the previous 10 years, and by the way, he was 27 years old when he started the UNIA, right? So from the age of 17 to 27, Garvey had traveled all throughout Latin America, throughout London, throughout the United States, Canada, and one of the things that he found is everywhere that he went, Black people were being subjugated and they were being dominated. And before he started the UNIA, he had read a book that was written by Booker T. Washington, and the name of the book was Up from Slavery. And Garvey quotes that when he read that book, he got it in his mind that he would be a race man and had committed himself to the redemption, right, and the liberation of our race, wherever we stood all around this particular planet, right? So, 10 years of just traveling everywhere and just understanding and connecting with Black people. But at the age of 27, he forms the UNIA in Jamaica. This is in 1914. He reaches out to Booker T. Washington because he wants to come to the U.S. to learn more about the Tuskegee Institute, because Garvey has the idea to create a similar institute down in Jamaica. But at the time when he arrives in 1916, and Booker T. Washington had transitioned in 1915. And he got here. He ended up, his initial goal was to do a tour throughout the southern part of the United States to raise money for his institute back in Jamaica. But upon that tour and upon arriving here, he recognized that there was a movement that was in motion, but Garvey had a vision that he was able to articulate, and because of that vision, he was able to really solidify all the component parts of that movement into what eventually turned into the most significant mass movement of African people all around the planet, which is referred to as the Garvey movement, right? So the organization that he started was the UNIA and ACL, which stands for the Universal Negro Improvement Association. In the African Communities League. So he comes here in 1916, and 1918 he charters a chapter in New York. In 1919, they start the Black Star Line company. 1920, they host the first international convention of the world. From 1919 to 1920, the organization grew from about 1,000 members to about 2 million members. And that's just in a year's time span. But the first international convention of the world was so significant because they had 25,000 people convene on Madison Square Garden. They had parades all throughout Harlem. I mean, he really captivated the mind, the consciousness, and the spirit of African people, and he helped to once again reignite in us, right, that desire for liberation, for redemption, right? And when he used the term redemption, he really was speaking, not just in physical terms, but in spiritual terms as well, because at its core, right, the character of the Garvey movement was a very spiritual one in and of itself. So I'll stop there.
No. I mean, I think that what you gave was a wonderful summary of that, and I want to get into some of the things that the UNIA accomplished. So I want to talk about the Black Star Line and how we were able to buy stocks and shares in that, and get into the Negro world, the newspapers, his nurses, and so let's talk about some of the things that they had going on, some of the programs that the UNIA offered.
Yeah. So the UNIA was, one of the most comprehensive organizations that we've, ever had. It was a government, it was commerce, it was culture, it was social. When you talk about the different auxiliaries that it had within the organization, right? It had the African Legion, right, which was a military, apparatus within the organization. It had the Universal Motor Corps, which represented military, but for our sisters. You had the Black Cross nurses. You had the juvenile division, or the juvenile league. So many different auxiliaries within the organization. In addition to that, you had the Negro Factories Corporation, and within that, so the model of the Negro Factories Corporation is a model that many Black movements after the Garvey movement tries to take on. So you look at like the Nation of Islam, where they have their stores and their laundry mats, and the forums. Like all of this comes like out of UNIA, right? This is the blueprint, or the black print, so to speak, that Garvey laid down for us. You had the Negro Dolls Corporation, where Garvey said, if our children are going to be playing with dolls, they need to be black dolls. You mentioned the Black Star Line. So what they often try to do is purposefully misread Garvey to tell you that Garvey had the Black Star. He got the ship so that he could take us back to Africa. And they try to call the Garvey movement the Back to Africa movement. But Garvey's movement was not about back to Africa, right? You can't, you cannot reduce what he was trying to do to that statement, back to Africa. The purpose of the ships were so that we could do trade among one another, right? So the crops that are grown in the islands can be sold to Black people in the U.S., and we can do commercial trade between Africa, the islands, and the United States. So Garvey wanted to connect us all, right? So we could do commerce and trade amongst one another, so that we could be self-sustaining, right? Because he recognizes that in terms of our commercial engagement or our commercial activity, it needed to be international in scope. So Garvey had in his mind the need for us to redeem the African continent, and the only way for us to do that was through the vehicle of nation, right? So Garvey's movement was a movement of Black or African nationalism, and his the character of nationalism that he gave us was one in which we as Black people collectively, right, around the globe, provide our resources, provide our energy, and provide our talent for the development of a nation, what he referred to as a political superstate on the African continent that will be strong enough to protect the interests of African people wherever they are. So I think that was very significant work, and it's work that we are trying to carry forward, right? When we look at the theme of this particular conference, it's Garveyism and the renewed cry for African nationhood, right? So we are once again re-examining the significance of Garveyism and what that means for us in the 21st century. I mean, Dr. Amos Wilson wrote a great book about that, Garveyism in the 21st century, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
I have it on my bookshelf. I know, look, the people who I'm connected with, they know I'll roll my chair back like this, and I'll lean on my bookshelf. But it's a thin green book.
Yes,
actually,
it is.
that you're referring to. So you're right. He sure did write the book. Dr. Amos Wilson. And he also talked about Garvey in his book, Blueprint for Black Power. But I wanted to add something to what you said, brother. He did set up a relationship with Liberia, right? And where some folks did decide to repatriate and go back to Liberia. Can you speak on that and what took place with that, brother, if you're familiar with that?
Well, he attempted to.
He attempted to. Okay.
He attempted to. Liberia, full stop, was an American colony. So, and Garvey's attempt to have Liberia be the settlement where the UNIA would intentionally penetrate the African continent. He struck fear in the hearts of the colonial administrators. You got to remember that Liberia's neighbor is Sierra Leone, which is a colony of the British, right? And then you have French colonies bordering it, right? So all of the colonial powers were of one mind when it came to Garveyism, and their thought was that we cannot allow this particular ideology to penetrate the African continent, because if it stirs in the hearts and minds of the African masses on the African continent a desire for the type of nationalism that Garvey is talking about, then it's going to mean trouble for the colonial powers. So as a result, so there are two schemes happening at the same time. You have Garvey and the UNIA that are attempting to gain access to the colonies on the African continent, but then you also have W.E.B. Du Bois and the NAACP that is attempting to gain access to the colonies on the African continent. Du Bois has no qualms about working with the State Department, right? So having the support of the United States government to basically undermine and sabotage Garvey and his initiatives on the continent. But in addition to that, the colonial government, meaning the black government that was in, I can't call it a black government. It's a white government that's being managed by black people. And Liberia, they also were against Garveyism, because one, they were afraid that if Garvey comes to the continent, specifically Liberia, and he has success, then he can basically essentially challenge the legitimacy of the rulers there, because the masses of people are the ones who give authority, right, for you to basically rule them or to govern them, right? So if the UNIA in and of itself is a government, the Liberian government is somewhat threatened by that, right? So President King did all that he could to undermine Garvey and the Garvey movement. And President King was the president of Liberia then. And as a result of his assistance, as a result of him assisting the colonial powers, they rewarded him with a very nice banquet. You can read all about that in Tony Martin's Race First, where he talks about it's called Race First, the ideological and organizational struggles of Marcus Garvey and the UNIA. But he talks all about that episode where the president in Liberia assisted the colonial powers with undermining Marcus Garvey, and they celebrated him and threw him a nice banquet for keeping Garvey out of Liberia.
Because I know in Blueprint for Black Power, Dr. Amos Wilson said they had went over, they surveyed the land, they took engineers and scientists and different people over with them because people were serious about repatriating. But Baba didn't elaborate on, what took place with that. And so
they did, Henrietta, Lady Henrietta Vinton Davis, who was the fourth assistant president general of the UNIA. Marcus Garvey referred to her as the most loyal and most significant black woman in the African race. But she led a party on behalf of the UNIA over to survey. And when they tried to send the equipment and everything, the Liberian government kept their equipment, kept their money, and not only did they steal the land, they sold the land to Firestone. And W.E.B. Du Bois actually helped to broker that relationship between Firestone and the Liberian government. So we have to keep in mind that these colonial governments and these black people who operate in these colonial governments, they are always anti-grassroots initiatives, because the grassroots are a threat to them, because it represents the might and the power of their people, and their role is to keep the people dominated and subjugated, and they're paid very well.
Absolutely.
For that particular role. So they were completely against Marcus Garvey and the UNIA.
Absolutely. And what was the sister's name again that you mentioned, Brother Omowale?
Her name was Lady Henrietta Vinton Davis.
Yep, I'm looking at it right now. Professor James Smalls talks about Henrietta Vinton Davis a lot. He said that she was Garvey's number two. She was basically the number two person, And so definitely. All right, brother. So what I want to go back. I know we talked about the Black Star Line. But I want to definitely build on that just for a quick second. What happened with that? Because I've read in a few books that that Garvey got taken advantage of as far as the type of ships that they were invested in. They weren't good ships. That he delegated responsibilities for different people who weren't I guess qualified to carry out certain tasks. And so he had someone go out and look at the ships. He invested in the ships. I heard that ships were poor qualities. Can we talk about the Black Star Line and what happened with that?
Yeah, the Black Star Line was sabotage. Like people tried to make it they try to make it appear as though the Black Star Line failed because Garvey was incompetent in business, and that's like the biggest lie. Garvey unfortunately trusted people that he shouldn't have trusted. There's a dude, I think his name was Captain Cockburn or something like that. And you got to forgive me, I'm just off of memory here. But he was an agent. So you had people that were purposefully working to to sabotage the Black Star Line. Funny enough, the Black Star Line also had some white captains. I have that written in here somewhere in my notes in one of the books, where the comment that I made was that it's interesting. It appears that Garvey was race first, but he wasn't race only. And the reason why I had wrote that is because the fact that he had used white sellers on the Black Star Line, who also, this is where I wrote it right here. If you can see in the margin of the book, it says
yes, I see your annotation.
Yeah, race first, not race only. And I wrote that because it was interesting to see that Marcus Garvey was willing to use the expertise outside of the race if he couldn't find it within the race in order to accomplish his goal. But if I remember correctly, and sometimes I pick this up and kind of peruse through it again. But if I remember correctly, the white people who he hired, I think that they assisted with sabotaging him as well. So yeah, so
and see, I'm gonna be honest. I mean, it kind of gives credence to the idea that you have to stick. I mean, even though your own, they say all skin folk and kinfolk, but it kind of make you feel like, well, maybe I should have not hired these outsiders, because, like you said, some of them did turn on them. I mean, your own people will do it, but
yeah. I think that it's a very complicated thing when you are trying to develop a nation, because certain and the reason why I put that annotation there is because I think about the need for us to acquire certain information and know-how to bring back to our people. Absolutely. Sometimes that requires for us to go to our enemy. Like Dr. Amos Wilson would always say, you shouldn't only be reading books by Black people. You understand what I'm saying? You got to go out there and get the information that's needed to build your nation. So if there's a skill set that they have, like, for example, when the Europeans were coming over here and they were getting allocated all these land grants, the government paid money to teach them how to farm the land so that they could survive. But if Black people were to lose their capability to farm, listen, I would not be above going to do an internship with the Amish to find out how to farm. You understand what I'm saying? So
absolutely,
we can't be so I don't want to use the word narrow because that just has negative connotations, but inflexible in our approach. You know what I mean? That's why I wrote that. I was like, Garvey's race first, but race first doesn't mean race only. You got to know when you have to go to your enemy to get certain skill sets so that you can use for the development of your own people, right? All of our enemies right now have satellites, up in the atmosphere. Where are the Black people who have the skill set to put the satellites up in the atmosphere? And I would argue that the people who have that skill set likely have received training from our enemies. You understand what I'm saying? So
absolutely,
you gotta know, like, this thing is this is not middle school, right?
That's
this thing
right.
is trying to lead and develop and build a nation and talking about war strategy and tactics, this is a complicated thing.
That's right.
And Garvey said that, you know, the skill set of statecraft, right? He says in the nation of 100 million people, you perhaps have 100 people who actually have that skill, right? So it's not a skill set that you often see. And I think that's why we lack appreciation for people like Booker T. Washington, right? Because they read diplomacy as accommodation. You understand what I'm saying? So I don't know. I'm going off on a tangent here, but like everything, when you're talking about nation, when you're talking about war, you're talking about strategy. You understand what I'm saying? So you can't be limited in your scope of things. So, and that's for me. These are the lessons that I glean from Garvey and glean from Garveyism. So,
beautiful, 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 brother. So let's talk about Garveyism, because you keep saying Garveyism, that word, and then when you contacted me and you said let's go live and let's do a build on Garveyism. What do you mean when you say Garveyism? I know we're talking about nation building, but like you said, nation building is a lot. And so let's get into that. Let's get into some of the tools we need to nation build, you know, Garveyism. Let's talk about that ideology for a second.
Yeah. So Dr. Julius Garvey wrote a paper, I believe, in 2012. I think the name of the paper might be African Fundamentalism, where he talks about the four sacred. And don't quote me on that, but I could pull it up for you because we study it with people in our political education course. I could definitely pull it up for you. But
hold on, wait a minute. You had the document on your paper? I mean, I'm sorry, on your laptop?
It's not on my laptop. It's in
or is it on?
I would have to open up the our classroom, our Google Classroom, to pull the document up. If you want me to do that.
Yeah, pull it up.
Hold on 1 second.
Yeah, pull it up. And I just want to say peace to everyone who's joined us tonight. Brother Shakara Speaks. He said, I'm missing DMX and versus Snoop Dogg to be in the building. But Brother Shaka, thank you so much, brother, for joining us. I see Brother Cohen Davis is in the building. Brother Zane, he was the first one to get in the building. Brother Robert Rand, I love myself some Robert Rand. Peace and love to you, Brother Robert Rand. Sister Juju is in the building. My big brother T is in the building. And I see New Black Knowledge. He slid through to say peace. I see Brother Wesley is in the building. Peace and love to you, brother. And who else do I see? I see that brother. Where are we? I think I skipped the name. I saw Fitzroy. Hold on. Let me look. Yep, Fitzroy. Brother Fitzroy Young. Peace and love to you, brother. And I see we have, I don't know how to pronounce this. I don't know if that's Gia or Gaia University in the building. Peace and love, family. Thank you for joining us, family. At this time, take a moment to share this video. Please share this video, family. And if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, head on over to YouTube, because I know that there are people watching on Facebook, but head on over to YouTube, subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell so that anytime I go live, you get notified. And family, on Saturday, I have Baba Walimu Baruti. Baba Baruti will be in the building on Saturday to talk about African liberation and African nation building. So you don't want to miss that. We're going to go live on Saturday at 8:00 p.m. So again, subscribe to my YouTube channel, hit the notification bell so that as soon as I go live, you will be notified. Brother Omowale, do you have the document, my brother?
I have it up, but I just unshare it really quick just so I can say that Baba Baruti will be one of the speakers at the RBG Centennial Conference. I can send you the link if you want to drop it in the chat. But he'll be the closing speaker on day 2 of the conference. He's given us a message on the need for African manhood and disciplined warriorhood. So that'll be day 2 of the RBG Centennial Conference. Baba Baruti will be speaking there.
Beautiful.
All right, so let me share my screen really quick.
And I see my French brothers and sisters are in the building. Peace and love to you. Peace and love. Hotep to my French brothers and sisters in the building. So I'm going to add this to the screen.
All right. So this is our Google Classroom for AI affiliate. This is the last. We have a a reorientation program that we do for all of our new members. And it's basically just some political education 101. And the reason why we refer to it as a reorientation program instead of orientation is because we want to let people know that when you come into an organization, you already have an orientation. And chances are, if you grew up in a white supremacist society, you are oriented in a way that is not centered on yourself. So most likely you have a Eurocentric approach and analysis. So we want to reorient you so you can be properly located. So as a part of that, we have a 6-week course that we put all of our members through. And module 2, we deal with Garveyism and nation building, right? Because we are a Garveyite organization. So we want to give them an introduction so that they can at least understand what this nation building and Garveyism thing is all about. So as a part of that, one of the essays we encourage folks to read was written by Marcus Garvey Jr. It's called Garveyism and African Racial Reconstruction. So when you talk about Garveyism, he talks about what he identifies as the core tenets of the philosophy or the ideology, and those being the significance of African identity, African pride or race pride, African self-reliance, African economic power, and African unity are the 5 tenets that he speaks to. And if I can highlight them here so you can see, right? So African unity, economic power, right? So us doing trade with each other, self-reliance, meaning do for self or being self-determining, race pride, very significant, and African identity, right? Identity is something that we are often very, very confused on as a people, but that represents the nexus that everything else in the movement is built upon. But even beyond that particular essay, Dr. Tony Martin refers to the sacred principles of Garveyism. He refers to them as race first, race pride, self-reliance, and nationhood. He refers to those as the sacred principles of Garveyism. So when we're talking about Garveyism, first and foremost, we are talking about race first, right? Race first, meaning race is essential to our ability to organize ourselves and defend and protect ourselves against our enemies, right? Garvey says, in a world of wolves, one should always go armed, and race first is our greatest defense. So that's very significant. So we're always talking about race first. Right after that, we're talking about race pride, meaning love of self. And the way that you build love of self is to have knowledge of self, right? Garvey says if African people knew who they are, if they knew that they had a sovereign power that was, if they knew the sovereign power that exists within them, he says, but within 24 hours, we would have a new nation, we would have a new people and a new race and a racial empire to be built upon. So that's race pride. Then it's do for self or self-reliance, right? So self-reliance is another way we're talking here about, you really self-determining, meaning, if you want liberation, you have to finance your own liberation. Your liberation is not going to come from getting grants from your enemies or getting funded by Nick Cannon's best friends, his new best friend.
So wait a minute, Brother Omowale. We shouldn't be fighting for reparations. Is that what you're saying, Brother Omowale?
Yeah. So there are 2 types of reparations, and first of all, our enemies don't have enough money to pay us reparations for what they took from us. They could never repair. But there are 2 types of reparations. You can get what's referred to as moral reparations, or you can get punitive reparations. So moral reparations is when you're making an argument and you're saying, listen, you did me wrong, and you should feel bad about what you did to me. So as a result of you doing me wrong, you should do something to repair, and make right what you made wrong. That's moral reparations. You're arguing from a moral perspective. Then you have what's referred to as punitive reparations. Now, punitive reparations come as a result of a war, right? And it happens when you sign articles to sue for peace, right? Peace treaties and things like that. Okay, we fought a war. I've eradicated you, but the war ain't over until you sue for peace. So as a part of you suing for peace, I say, okay, here are my terms. You and your descendants have to pay $100 million every month for the next 5,000 months. And if you don't pay this, then this is what I'm going to do to you. Do you agree or do you not agree? And they say, I agree. Okay, we just signed the deal for reparations. That's called punitive reparations, right? So if you look, at Germany, for an example. And this is why, after World War One, Germany was so fed up with the Jewish community, right? Because one, they felt like the Jewish community led to them losing the war. But in addition to that, because Germany essentially attacked the other European nations, they made Germany pay punitive reparations. And the cost of that was so damaging that it completely ruined the German economy, because the goal with making them pay those reparations was so that they could never build themselves back up again. But then a dude named Hitler, who was a German nationalist, he rose to power, and he spoke to and it's so funny when you study Hitler. He considered himself to be building a spiritual movement, which is very, very interesting when you study the inception of what Hitlerism was. Like, I mean, we know that the swastika is a symbol that they appropriated from ancient people, because even up until like the 1920s, even I want to say as far as the 1930s, you see the NAACP and their organ called the Crisis Magazine. Most of their articles have swastikas, in the and the header of their article. So it's like, yeah, you have to understand and know these things. But I think I just went off on a tangent there. I was supposed to be talking about Garveyism,
but it's all good.
And I started talking about Hitlerism. So now people are going to be saying that Garveyism and Hitlerism are the same, and it's not what I'm saying.
No. We got it, brother. We caught it. We caught it. And so, brother, at the RBG Centennial Conference, where can they purchase tickets? Let's talk about the website. I believe your website is RBG Centennial. Is that .com, .org?
It's .com. So I'll share the screen really quick just so I can show you. So this is the website. It's www.rbgcentennial.com. So that's Centennial, CENTENNIAL.com. And you could just click on the link for tickets, but this tells you everything about the event. We're using hashtag RBG100 to promote it on social media, so definitely assist with their promotions if you can. But it's a 2-day conference. Day one focuses on the past 100 years, so we are examining the political and cultural movements that really gave character to us as a people during the 20th century. So, the movement to free our political prisoners, the movement to build independent Black institutions. So we have some very unique panels set up on day one, breaking those things down. We have 5 breakout sessions scheduled over a 2-day period. And during those breakout sessions, you'll have 10 people presenting simultaneously during those breakout sessions. So day one deals with the last 100 years, and day two deals with the next 100 years. So if you look at day two, it's all about strategies, right? Strategies for defending the land, articles for self-determination, strategies for African victory, strategies for healing the nation, strategies for feeding and protecting the nation. So we have like I said, a whirlwind panel of speakers, of lecturers, of presenters, and we just confirmed yesterday Dr. Julius Garvey will be speaking on day one of the conference. So you can definitely go here to get your tickets. If you click on the link, it'll take you to the Eventbrite page, and we have a early bird special that is going until the 1st of August. So you can come here to get your tickets, and definitely let us know if you have any questions.
All right, beautiful, brother. Thank you so much for that. And I just appreciate and applaud what you and your team are doing to commemorate the 100th year anniversary of the RBG. And so I definitely tip my hat off to you. And as I stated in our meeting about a week ago, I said you all are very organized and very professional. So I think this is going to be a wonderful experience. And family, I will also be speaking on nation building. I think I'm going to be speaking on the 8th. I go on the first day.
Yes, you are.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
you are.
yeah. And we got to get more sisters into this knowledge. I know that you and I kind of had a conversation offline, and I hope you don't mind me sharing it with the
I,
audience.
I
But
don't.
yeah, but we talked. He and I had a conversation about just how we need more sisters involved in the movement. We definitely need more sisters. And when I think back to like the Black Panther Party, and I look at even the UNIA, the sisters were right there at the forefront of the movement. And so we just need more sisters to get involved in this, definitely. And so I know you were telling me we had to have a sister, so we needed to get you on there, Dr. Maat, because you
No,
said
no,
it's
no. Let me let you know. So we pride ourselves in the fact that our sisters are heavily represented all throughout the conference. So we have 6 panels. 5 of the panel moderators are sisters. We have 10. I'm sorry, we have 5 breakout sessions, right? So that's 10 people presenting during each of the 5 breakout sessions. There's at least 2 sisters presenting during every breakout session. When you look at the main speakers, right? So the individual speakers presenting during the main session, the Black woman is heavily represented. There's no such thing as building a nation.
That's right.
Like, if we're saying that we are, race first, we're saying that we're African centered, we're saying we're trying to build a nation, then how can you build a nation without
Without a
women?
woman.
So,
That's a fact.
so that's, I just want it to be purposeful. And in fact, on day 2 of the conference, we have a panel. It's called Our Women and What They Think. And that panel is a tribute to Amy Jocks Garvey, who was Marcus Garvey's second wife. She wrote a column. She edited a column in the Negro World, which was the magazine, the newspaper of the UNIA. She edited a column in the Negro World for several years, and the name of that column was Our Women and What They Think. So as a tribute to her, we have a very special panel on day 2 of the conference where we're going to have nothing but sisters on the panel. 5
Beautiful.
sisters, very hard hitting, and they're going to be speaking directly to the nation. So
This is gonna be, I'm telling you, and I remember you articulated that to me. You said we gotta get the sisters, and you said that's why I'm reaching out. We need the sisters on board with this. And so, like you said, it's no such thing as building a nation without the woman. The woman gives birth to the nation. How you have a nation and you don't include the female? And so that's why, it's very important that that it's very important that the sisters are involved in the movement. So again, brother Omowale, thank you for coming on, brother. I feel like you dropped a lot of jewels. You got to come back. You got to come back. You got to come back.
I appreciate you having me. I apologize to the family. I'm usually a lot more energetic than this. I was up to 4:30 in the morning yesterday for my brother Shaka Ra. I had to pre-record a lecture for him that aired on his channel earlier today. The lecture was what was it, Shaka Ra? It was I'm forgetting the name of it. It was called, the Pan-African Costume Ball and the Climate of Confusion. That was the lecture. So I recorded it last night. It was 2.5 hours of content. I didn't finish preparing it until yesterday evening. So I was up until 4:30 in the morning. Then I had to wake up at 8, for work. And then, Brother Shaka Ra kept me on his channel for about 6 hours talking about the lecture. So I just had a really long day, but I'm incredibly thankful for Dr. Maat bringing me onto her platform. I'm incredibly humble for all of the excitement around this conference. I haven't reached out to anyone that has given me a no, so the caliber of people that we have. For me, the integrity of this event was important. So we don't have any preachers in this event. All the people at this event are doers. These people are doing really good work in our community around nation building. So I said, I want everybody who's doing something to have this platform to demonstrate to the community what they are doing. I don't want the preachers and the talkers. So the integrity of this event really meant everything to myself and the other organizers, because we have an army of organizers behind the scenes. And what's very unique is that on the planning committee, you have 6 men and you have 6 women. You have a male co-chair and you have a female co-chair. So I'm the lead organizer, the male co-chair, and then our sister Tahira, she's my co-chair, and she's over the finance, right? So it's just like in the house, the woman controls the economy, she controls the finance, and or at least that's how it is in my house. Y'all might call me a simp for it, but I get a nice check and I send it right over to my wife and let her manage and kind of like pay everything. As long as I'm fed and I have my little stipend, I'm okay with that. But our household economy works that way. And if you understand economics, the word economy comes from a Greek word that means household management. So, you know, we manage our little economy together. There's only one pot in this household. Her resources go into it. My resources go into it. We meet and we strategize how those resources are going to get deployed. But this ain't like a, you know, it truly is one. So for me, it was a very comfortable thing to have my sister Tahira manage all the finances, and she will call me like, "Why are you spending money that you ain't tell me you was going to spend?" And it's good because you need somebody. That's what Henrietta Vinton Davis was for Garvey. She was on those finances, so you need that.
Absolutely. And you're not being a simp. It's about what works good for your household. It's about your household. I don't even like to use the term, because to me it's a term that Trump used, but I know how these YouTube audiences can be. So you know, I shouldn't have to give a what's the word? See, I'm having brain farts right here. I shouldn't have to give a explanation
or explanation. Yeah. So it is what it is. But I only say that to say that if you look at the planning committee, it's 6 sisters and it's 6 brothers who are working diligently to pull this thing together. So it's a full team of us.
Well, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much, Brother Omowale, for coming on again. I mean, you dropped a lot of jewels. This was a beautiful bill tonight. So family, go to rbgcentennial.com to get your tickets for the conference. The conference will be August the 8th through the 9th. And so again, they're going to have activities and speakers and all things going on all day long. So family, be sure to support this monumentous event. All right. So I'm going to share the trailer one more time, brother. I mean, this promo is beautiful.
Just remember that a centennial by definition only happens once in a lifetime.
That's
right. You're only going to celebrate a 100-year anniversary once in your life. So don't say to us, well, you know, we'll take part in this next year, because it's not going to be a centennial next year, unless you're going to be here another 100 years from now. So
absolutely. So brother, can you see my screen?
I can see it. It looks beautiful.
All right, fantastic. All right, family. So we're out. Be sure to join me. I might go live again, family. I'm thinking about going live maybe tomorrow or Friday. It's some things I just want to get off my chest, Brother Omowale. You know, it's a lot of things being said. You know, Kanye West made a stupid comment saying that our ancestor Harriet Tubman didn't free anyone. You know, you got folks coming at the Black woman, and so I gotta stand up and say some things. So I might go live, family, on Friday. Yeah, I got to get some things off of my chest. But family, I'm definitely going to be live on Saturday with Baba Baruti. So join me on Saturday at 8:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to build with Baba Baruti on African liberation and African nation building. But before we go, Brother Omowale, what were you getting ready to say in regards to that?
I said you got to get it off your chest. It's not healthy to keep it in.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. So with that said, family, I love you. Hotep, Alafiani, peace and love.
One weekend, 2 events, 70 speakers representing more than 60 organizations from 20 countries, 50 plus workshops. RBG Centennial Conference, a nation-building event like no other. There'll be vending, arts and culture, speakers, panels, virtual workshops, and more. It's all going down August 8th and 9th, 2020. Across all social media, use hashtag RBG100, RBGCentennial.com.
Drop the mantle of the red, the black, and the green around me.